Welcome to my podcast, Shaping Your Journey. My name is Aldo Mazza, percussionist, drummer, and artistic director of Kosa Music, inviting you to listen in on conversations with friends, artists, professionals, and experts in our music world. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you may receive new notices on upcoming and interesting podcasts. Today, I have a really, and I mean really great pleasure of having an incredible timbale player and percussionist on with me, Karl Perazzo. Karl, thank you so much for doing this all the way out in San Francisco. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you all.
Before we start the conversation on shaping your journey, tell us a little bit about what was like the seed, the very beginning, like what started it for you.
Well, like in most interviews, I always start at home because that's where it actually all began. When I was just a little kid, just growing up in a musical family. Um, and I don't mean everybody playing. My mother played guitar, my father played drums, but they were long retired. But there was always music in the house, so that inspired me uh, to listen and to want to become a musician. My sister used to have, the Beatles and the Monkees and all those kind of bands like that, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, of course.
and it was great stuff, man. And I think that's where it all began.
How old were you then? I mean, I read somewhere that you were like 2 years old or something when you started
Oh yeah,
playing.
yeah. It goes back to the nasty twos, So
Nice.
just whatever I could get my hands on, pots, pans, you know, tables.
And did you study music, or was it just like in the family and then you just went out, continued to play?
No, I didn't study at all. Uh, when I went to elementary school, I was in music classes, but just, you know, playing the songs that have one note all the way through them.
That's interesting. And
Right?
and and you're really well known with with Santana, of course, playing timbales. That's your main kind of. I always see you when I think of Carl, I think of timbales, but you play all the other percussion instruments, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. My very first instrument was the bongos.
Okay.
Uh, those were actually. I'm sorry, I'm battling my sinuses. Um, the my first instrument was the bongos, and those were my congas because they were so I couldn't put them up so little, but they were so big. Uh, and then you know, uh, I went to congas, and then later I went to timbales. Yeah,
Okay. And you were
but yeah, I play
playing,
them all. I play them all.
right? And then you started playing with professionally with a lot of people. And one name like jumped out at me when I was looking up. Okay, what was some of the background? Like you played with Cal Tjader when you were really young, right?
Yeah, it's a funny story because my father studied, took drum lessons with then my uh, fourth and fifth grade teacher, Arthur Flower. So they knew each other there. Arthur Flower was very good friends with Cal and his family. And Arthur Flower introduced me to Cal. And then in the sixth grade, I started doing like, just some presentations. So it
Nice.
was a very exciting time.
Because Cal Tjader, like next year is going to be, well, it's pretty soon. I mean, I think he was going to be 100 years old. He was one of the first vibes player. For those of us who don't know Cal Tjader, he was an incredible vibe player, but he was doing
Yeah.
a lot of Latin music way back then as a vibe player, which was a little bit unusual, right?
Well, that I think, at that time, he was kind of like the George Shearing of, he played vibes and George was the piano player. Uh, but on the West Coast.
Right.
So And he played very good timbales as well. You know?
Okay. And how long were you was your association with him? Do you play on any of his records?
No, no, I never got a chance to record. Just do live features. You know, uh, so that's how I actually uh, met met Peter Scavito and Sheila, and so you know your path is assigned and designed. You know, so I was very fortunate to have all these people in my life. At the same time, my brother Gibby Ross was he was doing features, but with Tito Puente.
Haha. Nice.
Oh, so you know we got to meet uh, everybody and that kind of thing because those shows were coming into San Francisco quite a bit.
Okay.
We were
When you
lucky to
say
see all that
when
music, Aldo.
right, right. Yeah, no, I mean that's what in the 60s that you're talking about or 70s?
Late '60s, late
Late
'60s, early
60s, yeah.
'70s,
Yeah. No, no, I remember
and
everybody.
beyond. You know.
Yeah, I mean, we were all playing like 24/7, like we're everywhere, and there's music
Yeah, it was
everywhere.
crazy.
I mean, my parents would always, they knew since I was going out to play gigs, I wasn't going out stealing car hubcaps, so they were happy,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and so
I
they let
think
me.
I think I was the only kid that it was cool to come home at 4 in the morning.
Yeah, because I mean, and people coming through playing all the time. I remember as a teenager, I used to live in Ottawa at the time. I think from the age of 15 to about 18, or even 14 to 18, I think I saw every single person, artist of all types, who came through the
Uh
city,
huh.
whether it was jazz or rock, I mean, I saw everybody, from Frank Zappa to Weather Report to you name it,
Oh
from
God, that's
Yes.
great.
I mean,
Yeah.
everybody. So now when I talk to everybody, I say, I remember when I was a kid, I saw you for the first time when you were playing, Blood, Sweat, and Tears with, what's his name, the original drummer. Oh, the name escapes me now. He went on to be a big producer. Oh, Bobby Colombi. That's right.
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
saw that band. Chicago, the original band. I mean, Santana,
Yeah.
of
Right.
course, the original band. Weather Report, the original band. I was just a
Yeah. That's really fortunate to see because uh, at that time, you know, music was still evolving as well. You know, as far as what direction you wanted to go, whether it was Latin blues, Latin rock, or jazz, or fusion, or you know, all these other words came later, right?
right.
So, like when I just see Cal, like the first time, like a professional band like that, and I felt the power of the band, and the band actually carried me, you know. And I had that experience with Tito's band and with Machito when I got
Right.
to play a number with him. That the power of that band, they just carry you, you know. It's a great feeling, and you learn so much, you know.
Yeah. No, of course. I mean, and you're right there. And San Francisco was one of those cities that just exploded with all kinds of people. I mean, Sheila E, that whole family, the whole
Yeah.
family was just so active then, right? Can you describe it a little bit?
Right.
What the city was like at the time?
Well, I was playing 6 nights a week and then rehearsing on the night off. Uh, so and it wasn't. I was playing. I was doing playing cumbias, salsa, jazz, Latin jazz, and then like funk bands.
Nice.
So I was kind of spread out a little bit because my dad told me, he said, "Hey, if you want to really do this, you got to learn, you know, all the genres of music. You just can't be one trick pony. You know." He told me you have to learn all the instruments and learn how to play drums. He wanted me to play vibes, but I was never interested.
Right.
But he was right. He was absolutely correct.
And then having people, having bands around. I mean, at the time, Tower of Power was in San Francisco. I mean, the whole,
Oh, you name it. Grateful Dead, Lydia Pence,
yeah.
Linda Tillery, Santana. We had Daquila, bands like that. We had Pete and Sheila, Coke Escovedo, Armando Peraza lived here, Francisco Abella, Mongos even lived here for a short time.
Ah,
Um,
okay.
so, there were great clubs. There was Bimbos, there was Keystone, there was, a lot of clubs where you could go see bands, you know, and then there were offshoots, right? There were off things like Digga Rhythm Band, Zakir Hussein, uh, you know, where you could see these bands um, that Mickey Hart would put together on the side, you know, and and
Okay.
so we had Carlos Federico, great Panamanian. We had Benny Velarde, the great Panamanian timbal player. Um, and I went to go see one of the pioneers yesterday, um, from my mom's era, Willie Colon. You
Oh,
know,
wow.
and then he was a great conga player. And then I grew up the people that are right above me, John Santos, John Calloway, Raul Rico, those guys like that, Jose Flores. These guys were pretty big inspirations. Nick Mendez, who also played with Malo. We had
Okay.
Malo, Jorge Santana. So you're
Right.
right when you say that, Aldo. The Bay Area was inundated. Oh, I'll give you an example. When I was a kid, I used to stand out in front of the clubs and listen to music, or I would walk around and listen for bands that were rehearsing, and I would knock on the garage because there were no studios. Everybody,
Right, right, right.
everybody, practiced in the garage, and it was fine with the neighbors at time because the evolution of music was still going. People needed music, especially in the time of the Vietnam War, right? And San
Right.
Francisco was a big push on peace, love, harmony, right?
Right, right, right.
So I would knock on the garage, and they would open it up. And I go, hey, can I sit there and listen? And listen. It was a great time.
Wow, wow. That's incredible to
I
have
even
that
got gigs that
opportunity.
way.
I mean, I'm just imagining this, somebody opening the garage door and people coming in, shutting the garage door, and you're hanging and listening to all of these people in the
Oh
whole
yeah,
creation. Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah.
yeah. And then there was this great place. I got to tell you, in the Mission District, they opened up this community center type of thing. We've always had community centers, but they opened up this really big one. It's to this day, it's still there. It's called the Mission Cultural Center, and at that time it was 3 floors. Or the city might have only let us use the first one, but we got to see so much music there. You would not believe how much music came out of there. And then we started doing classes, and then I used to jam there with 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 Carlos Federico, um, and um, uh, that's where I met Rebecca Mauleon, Tito Garcia, all these guys that um, and girls, women, Rebecca,
Rebecca,
who's
yes,
an
yes.
incredible piano player. Oh,
She's
she
amazing,
she has
amazing.
books out. Yeah, she's amazing. Uh, so we all grew up together in this community of love, music, harmony. Really kept us together in a close. And bands like Batachanga. Típicas en Fuegos, all the John Santos bands, Salsa Caliente, you know, Actualidad, 77. There were so many great bands, man, that were super inspiring to me, to for me to say when I grow up, that's what I want to do. But
Nice.
then again, I was already gigging, but
And,
it just kept inspiring me.
and then you ended up playing with Sheila E. in her. Did she have a group called Purple Rain or something like that? Or was
No,
it?
no,
No, it was
it was just
Princess.
Sheila E.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, yes, I was her drummer there. Sheila's the one that gave me the really big break. I got to tell you, she's
She's
the
amazing.
angel in disguise in this whole thing. She's the actual key that started the Ferrari. So, uh, and then from there, yeah, we went on Purple Rain. We did the Purple Rain tour.
And then you guys opened up for Prince, of course. That was the whole Purple Rain thing,
Yeah,
right?
yes,
Nice.
that
And
was an
so,
incredible experience. Yeah.
and how long did you do that for?
Well, the Purple Rain tour went a solid year.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I might have came home once
Nice.
for
Nice.
for man, just a Christmas break and then go back out. We were playing 10, 11, 12 nights in every city.
Wow. Beautiful. That that'll get your act together. I mean, that's the 10,000 hours that you need, like, to take whatever you're doing, which is great to begin with, to a whole other level. I mean,
Yes,
that's the way you do it. and and
yes.
and then from there you jump to Santana, or how did that? Would Chile recommend you, or we just cross
No, no, no.
paths?
In between that, I have to say, uh, on a personal note, that uh, I'd be I'd be I have a fear of flying, and I'm controlling it, and back then it just got a little out of hand, and so I didn't want to travel anymore, and a lot of people suffered through it, uh, and I joined a band um, called Zazu Pits, and
Okay.
it was a it was a Motown review band,
Okay.
and the band was like 16 pieces. Okay, so this band was really, really good. We played everywhere locally. Um, uh, the money was great. I didn't have to travel. I could stay home and make a living, you know. Uh, and then I wanted to revisit my jazz roots again. And sorry, excuse me.
Sure.
I just want to. Um, and um, the uh, the jazz roots came from Ray Obiedo, Roger Glenn,
Okay.
all these guys like that. Where I started playing with Ray. Ray introduced me to Andy Narell.
Wow.
Andy Narell, incredible,
This
hands
steel pan,
down, yeah,
steel pan
hand
player,
player.
one of the best,
Yeah,
the best. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Uh, and then we started really getting really active and recording and doing records for Windham Hill Records. And Mike Spyro and I would be like the calls,
Yeah.
for
Mike
so
Spyro being
I
a
really,
Yeah, Mike Sparrow.
Mike, yeah,
Of course, I've known Mike for many, many years. He's done
yeah,
a lot of work, a lot of studying, and the whole Cuba thing. He's really like he owns it. He's an incredible teacher, incredible player, of
Well,
course.
then not only the Cuban, but all the Brazilian stuff too.
And the
He's a
Brazilian,
master.
yes,
He's a
yes.
he's a master in music, and he's still my business partner to this day. We have a band together.
Ah, okay.
So we work together, and he's very, very dear to me and one of my great teachers. And after doing that with Andy Norell and recording on his records, I started traveling again. And so I had to make a decision on whether to stay with Zazu Pitts or to start travel again. And I started traveling again. And that was in the 90s and all through the 90s, early 91, I got the call to play with Santana.
Okay. Was it? I heard that it was Carlos himself who called you to join the band, right?
It was actually Jorge. Jorge called me.
Oh, okay.
Jorge Santana, yeah. And
And
I played in George's band when I was about 16 or 17. And that came out of when I played with Mike Carabello, Dave Brown. I was doing Malo, the original guys, Richard Bean, Francisco, uh, Pablo Teles, Richard Commode, all the guys, Forrest Buckle. And I tell you, Aldo, you know, you grew up looking at the records, and you grew up looking at all their faces and reading the credits, and then you find yourself you're in rehearsal with these guys, and it's like, yo, am I dreaming?
yeah.
I also had this feeling doing the Santana 4 album where I was like sitting in the room there, like there's Carlos, Neil, Greg, Shreves, Carabello. I was like, and Benny Riefeld, um, our current bass player, my longtime friend, who also we played with Sheila E together and did
Okay.
Purple Rain. So we're sitting there like if we fell into the record cover.
Wow.
So all these things happen for a reason, right? To spark you again, to relight your fire, to keep you going, motivated, passionate. You know, it's similar to you, man. You know, a lot of people don't talk about you, but you're one of the cats, man.
Whoa.
You single-handed, you you keep you keep music alive. You've done so much to help other people be who they are today.
Oh, thank you, man. I
So
appreciate that.
I, it's like, so yeah, you like you said during COVID, you had to keep your wheels spinning, and 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 don't think you're not up there, because you are. You know, this world is round for a reason, so everybody gets center stage, and you own a huge part of it.
Thank you.
My
Thank you,
only
man.
regret is I never got to do Mesa.
The Cosa thing. I mean,
Of
and
course, yeah,
yes, and I reached out that I just for whatever
many
reason.
times it just didn't. It couldn't happen.
Yeah, and I was always looking forward. I'm saying, let's try Carl again, but you guys were so busy. I mean, you were so
Yeah, at that
busy.
time, because the
Whew.
album broke and it hit
Yes.
hard, and then work became crazy.
Yeah, but I did have an incredible. I mean, I did end up working with Raul in China. He came with us to China one year.
Yeah,
I think the year before he passed, and he was. I mean, he was amazing. And
yeah.
I mean, you worked with him with Santana for many years, and you guys together were like, were like you guys were one. It was a. I mean, not just in the performances, but also when you did that video. I remember, yeah, it's coming back. I mean, you did an instructional video. Horacio was on it, you and Raul, where you're
Uh-huh.
explaining parts and how you did. that album, right? With Santana.
Yeah. Supernatural rhythm and
Beautiful,
grooves.
beautiful. I have a couple of copies of that. I think I read.
Uh-huh.
I wore out the first one, showing it to some of my
Yeah.
students, and yeah. So that was
Yeah,
amazing. I
Edwin
mean,
Bonilla. Edwin Bonilla's on that, the great percussionist from originally from New York, moved to Miami, played with Gloria Estefan for years. Uh, Benny's on that. Paquito Echeverria, the great Cuban player. Jose Cibaja, trumpet. It was such a good band. Oh, Renato Neto. Oh
wow,
man,
that's
what a
right.
good
Yeah,
band.
yeah, yeah.
You remember Renato?
Yes, yes. Now that I'd totally forgotten about him. Wow.
That guy is phenomenal, man. He went on to play with Prince for years.
Right. I just had this flash when you guys were in Montreal. Dennis Chambers was on drums at this particular time, and the band came in to do a recording without Carlos. The band, but without Carlos, they were
Right.
doing a recording, and the people at the studio where I did a lot of work myself. They called me and says, "Oh, the guys are here. Can you help out with the drums?" And I just happened to have a Pearl drum set, exactly his Dennis's color, the yellow. So we
Yeah.
got the drums down, I'm not sure about maybe the percussion too. I got down to the studio for you guys, and some of the extra players I think that were there. I don't know if you remember that. That was many years ago. It
It was
just came
many
back
years
to me.
ago.
Yeah, but you guys were like all over, and creating such incredible music that whole time. And I mean, I had a chance to speak with, a couple. I mean, I know Dennis, of course, but Michael Shreve, of course, who was the original drummer that we know of from the Woodstock years. But
Yes.
also, um, you worked with what was Graham Lear, who was from here, and I knew Graham for a long time. I knew Graham even before, as a kid. Actually, it was a
Oh
funny
my.
story.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, it was a funny story. I
I
was
didn't know he was from Canada. I didn't know that.
Yes, yes. He was from London, Ontario, but had moved to Montreal, and then played with Gino Vanelli for years, right?
Yeah.
And Gino Vanelli's from Montreal, and some of the percussionists, some of the people were from the university, so we all knew each other and hung out and all of that. But I told Graham that something he had forgotten, and I just happened to find a photo, and I said, Graham, you're gonna laugh at this. When I was in high school, I was like the vice head boy and kind of basically running the show, and we did all these great things, and to get our football team back up, the inspiration of the school, I did this huge concert, put on this huge concert at the beginning of the year. We were in an all boys school. I invited the all girls school, who was a few blocks away. It was magnificent. I got everybody out early, and that's how they came to the concert. We did a fundraiser and raised, I don't know, back then, maybe $5,000, which is probably like the equivalent of $50,000 now. I mean, it was crazy what we did, and we gave
Yeah,
it to a
right.
charity. But the band that was playing was a band that Graham was playing with. It was called George Oliver and the Natural Gas. It was a horn band. Yeah. And George Oliver also sang with this huge Canadian band called the Mandala, which was one of the big original rock bands here, with
Yeah.
Whitey Glenn on drums, who did many things later. But it was funny because I have a photo with George Oliver and him sitting at the stage, and I think I was 17 or 18. And so we had a good laugh. I said, so we met a long time ago, way before we knew each other in Montreal. Small
Yeah,
world.
that's how life is, right?
I don't believe in
You meet people
coincidences.
and
I don't believe in coincidences, and I think, Carl, you're the same. There's no such thing as coincidences. Things are thrown your way just because of your thought process. You're thinking this, either you make it known or you are on this path that is clear to you. and then you
Yeah,
show up.
it's manifested.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I mean,
Yeah,
your whole trip
I
with,
believe in that. There's no, it's not hook or by crook. It's uh it's a sign and design.
and you know, the funny thing about it is, in retrospect, I mean, after all of these years, I mean, you don't think about it during that voyage, but in retrospect, and then you can talk about it, and you say, wait a second, all of these different things, you were there. You know, you're looking at yourself and say, man, I was there, and I was there,
Yeah,
and yes, I remember, and only because you had this mindset of being part of this thing, which, you know, in our case, playing music, playing drums and playing percussion, playing music
right,
on with people, and going to see them, and doing all the work necessary, because
right.
it's, I mean, of course you practice it. It's not, I mean,
That's right.
you have to know what you're doing, but you have to have the right state of mind. You have to be a good person, and you have to have that
Right.
energy that transpires.
Yes,
Otherwise, it just it doesn't go through the door, right?
that's correct. Or you can shape it as I am what I am today because of the people that came into my life. You know, whether it was Pete, Coke, Sheila, Mike Carabello, Dave Brown, Raul, it's because of them at that time. And I was there, but I got to meet all these other people, you know. It's because of Jorge Santana, you know. Understand what I'm telling you? Because
Yeah, yeah.
everybody, at the end of the day, what you have to learn is we're all trying to get the apple, but nobody wants the tree.
Explain that.
Well, everybody wants the apple, but to nobody wants the tree because the responsibility is tough, right? The thing about being in the tree is once your tree spawns fruits, everyone will come.
I never thought about it that way.
Well,
Interesting.
you have to understand that once your roots are settled and you become one with the vibration and the energy of the earth, your tree will always spawn fruits. You just have to be thankful, grateful for your existence. You have to share your knowledge because your knowledge is not yours to keep, right?
Exactly. Well
And
said. Well said.
and instead of standing and waiting for the apple to fall, there are some people that have the third eye and they can climb the tree and get the apple. But you have to share the fruit.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
have to
No,
share
no,
the fruit.
yeah, it makes sense. And it's, you know, I
The
call
one
it,
thing they don't teach you, Aldo, and I got to tell you, the one
yeah.
thing they don't teach you is the business side of music,
Tell me about it. Yes.
or just to become a businessman, right?
Yeah.
To cherish what you've earned so you can share later.
Yeah. And I'll take that further. I mean, I was always frustrated at university that nobody ever talked about these things. So of course we sign contracts and do things that later you regret just because you just didn't understand. So I took it upon myself to learn as much as possible and to learn the laws of business to understand. But then
Mhm.
making sure, like, and you said it well, making sure that whoever you're involved in, you know, they share your success, whatever that is. That you don't, there
Yeah,
is never, and I say this always, there should never be a loser of any kind in any situation. it should always be a win-win. There's always the concept that people have, you win or lose. I mean, it's not a game. You win the game or you lose the game. It's it's the journey takes you, but whatever happens, it's not a race, and it's not a football game or a
No,
hockey game.
no, no.
It's
It's a
it
life
should
of
be
experiences.
no losers, always winners.
Yeah, it's a life of experiences, and you have to learn that even traumatic experiences, you learn something, and you have to know how to shape that to make you a better person, right? And you're gonna learn even in your sticking to where like, oh man, I can't really go double tap tap, let me see, go around. You're gonna learn that, oh no, I'll do a double first with the left, ta, 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 do, 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 and then you'll see the flow, right? So you it's those kind of things like that. But I'm talking about musicians, young musicians. Don't get in the mindset and don't teach yourself to just work for Friday night. And then Wednesday you're gonna go, well, I'm gonna spend what I got because I got a gig Friday night. And so you're always working for Friday night. You need to look at yourself as a corporation, as an entity, as because music is an avenue, right? We all have to make a living, you know. So I encourage all the young musicians, for every dollar that they make, to put 33% in the Karl Perazzo Foundation or the Aldo or whatever your name is or whatever your thing is, and you put that money away for your future. And your future is, well, I want to do an album, and you're going to be saying that for the rest of your life if you don't save to do that album.
Yeah.
Or I really want the Neil Peart drum set, or I want the Dennis Chambers drum set. Well, if you don't start now, that's never going to happen. You're just going to be, and then you're going to turn around and you're going to be the guy that says, I could have, I should have, and I would have if I listened to Carl and Aldo on that interview.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Now,
And
don't take me wrong. It took me a long time to learn this method. And the great Armando Peraza taught me about finance.
yeah,
And
and it,
now you want to get to a place in your life where you once were, because the cycle is so short. You see, when we were kids, and the young people that are listening right now, you'll play for free because you just want to play music. And then it becomes a job, and then you're going to get paid, and then you're going to make decisions. Do I want to do this gig? Doesn't really pay that much, but I'll do it. Oh, I'm not doing it. Doesn't pay enough. And then later in your life, if you save enough and you have enough, you'll say, I just want to play for free.
and it's interesting to know that when you have that choice, you say, there's not enough money in the world that can make me do something because I decide. You do something either because and we all do things for a cause, for free. I mean, that we can go on about that, and it's important. But to have the choice to say, I don't want to do this because it's not for me, it's not my place, or it doesn't pay enough money. But I will do this for no money because it's absolutely important that it happens. If I don't do this, it doesn't happen.
Yes, that's
So
right.
that's important. That's a
That's right.
responsibility. Yeah.
That's exactly right. And I like the way you separate that, because if you surround yourself with greatness, you in turn will be great. If you go once you go into great possibilities, like I did. I remember doing a play and and it was like long rehearsals. The guys didn't know their lines, and you're sitting in the pit, and but even that was an experience that propelled me later on when I did the real plays. It was just a rehearsal. So if you look at some of these things, they're just rehearsals. They're just rehearsals for things yet to develop or be seen.
And it's amazing how many of those rehearsal situations were actual preparation for all those things that you needed to do later. And if you didn't have those rehearsals, you have no idea. Now you know.
You wouldn't be able, yeah, you wouldn't be able to hang.
Yeah. Oh, it's funny. I mean, I look at that all the time, and I like I used to do a lot of when I was a kid growing up in high school. That all-girl high school used to hire me every year to do these musicals. So I did musicals like there's no tomorrow, and of course for free because they always ask me a favor. But then when I needed a huge favor from them to save our school, they said, "What do you need?" I said, "Can you have the girls come out 1 hour before to come to our concert? Because then all the guys will come, and then that will help us make this a success."
Yeah, yeah,
That's number one.
yeah.
And then number two, when I got to university and then later, some of the big shows that I got hired for was because I had done so many of those musicals. I knew them backwards. So when I got to do for example, one of the first big ones was with Anton Coppola, the uncle of Francis
Yeah.
Ford, was touring Canada with the original Broadway cast of Fiddler on the Roof with Fivish Finkel and all of these great actors who I knew of. And so they hired only the musicians in Montreal, and it was my teacher who was hired. But he came into my studio and he said, "Aldo, I can't do this tour. It's way too long for me. Here, call this number. You're doing it." So, and I flew out.
I got chills with that story because that's exactly what happens.
Yeah. And then you're ready just because of those rehearsals or those things you did that at the time were, you were asked it, and they're huge preparation. They don't look like they mean anything at the time. They're just a thing you do just because, oh, that's cool, that's nice. I have the time and I might as well. And these are nice people, so I'll do that.
Yeah, right.
But what it's really doing is it's setting you up for life, right?
Exactly. Just
And I'm sure you
wherever
get a
you
million
are
of
and whatever
those.
you do, bring your A game. Be passionate, 100%. Don't try to be first in line. Your goal is to complement the line.
Yeah. It's the same thing as, I mean, you should always be part of we all know that one. Always be part of the solution, never ever be part of the problem. So always look on the other, how can I be part of that solution? How can I bring something to the table? Otherwise, there's no purpose for you to be there, right?
Yeah.
So you have to give everything purpose. Make it work. That's what we should do. And if everybody does that, then everything works. Magic,
And,
right?
and guess what? It becomes fun.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, all those years, I mean, you've been with Santana now. How many years?
33.
33 years with Santana. Wow. I mean,
And I got to tell you, what a pleasure. What an honor. And it's fun. It's fun
yeah, yeah, yeah.
because the creative aspect of it, you play Oye Como Va every night. Yeah, but not the same way.
Yes. No, that's a good one. That's a really good one because how many times can you play a specific song which was like the greatest? I mean, that's what put Santana on the map in the first place. But then now you're stuck with it. But now you got to deal with it and you got to live with it. But it's not the same, right? It's really not the same from the
Well,
inside as you're playing it.
yeah, I get what you're saying. I think that it's the words that you choose, right? Words cast spells, right? So yeah, it's a song that was a sign and designed to get everybody going. Whether it was Tito Puente or inspired by Cachao, you know, uh,
Right.
that's a song, and that's gonna live beyond, right? And so we, we don't say stuck with it, not to go against what you were saying, but it's an honor and a pleasure to play those tunes that our forefathers created for us, you
Yeah.
know. So we're just being a part of what they were,
Sure.
our
Sure.
inspirations, right? There's nothing for me. It was like, I don't know if you know this. Tell me if you have this feeling, Aldo. Like every time I get behind the timbales or even the bongo or congas, there's no way that I can't think of Tito Puente when I'm behind the timbales.
Oh,
It
yeah.
just comes. And
Yeah.
if I'm sitting with the bongos, I can't sit there and not think of Armando Peraza, the
Yeah.
late great Johnny Rodriguez, my brother, rest in peace.
Yeah.
Uh Ray Barreto,
Oof. Yeah. And
you
he's
know,
still, yeah, he's still
just
the guy.
the
Yeah.
great Mongo, you're playing. This is what I love about playing with guys like Giovanni. Giovanni,
Giovanni
we
Hidalgo,
could play,
yes.
yeah, Giovanni Hidalgo. And we can be playing and he'll play a chop that comes from Mongo. And we'll look at each other and we'll say Mongo, Mongo, Mongo. Because he also has that same drive. But he's so far ahead that when he brings it close to home, it's still so far ahead.
Sure. Sure. And
What
and
what
and
an ability he has.
no, and also, I mean, you're absolutely right about all those. I mean, the people before us who had these great things, and I had the pleasure of meeting Tito Puente once with Repercussion, my group. We did a concert together. I think it was in San Antonio, some big festival. We played before us. I went to see him after, and of course, I finally saw him live, and it was just unbelievable. I mean, the guy is just oozes like greatness and also simplicity in his character. And then backstage after, I said to him, I mean, unbelievable. I love what you do. You're total inspiration. So the four of us are standing there, and then we said, "Would you do something with us one day?" And he said, "Absolutely. Let's talk about it." I mean, unfortunately, we never did, but that would have been amazing. And guys
Sure.
like Mongo Santa Maria, the same thing. I used to see him in this club. He used to come to Montreal often, and I would see him play in this tiny club. And for hours he would play, and he was like oozing, like Giovanni. I mean, unstoppable. I mean, you just
It's
play.
unstoppable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even
Uh,
even because Mongo sweated like crazy. Remember? Even his
yes.
sweat, even his sweat was music.
And his hands were all taped. I mean, his hands were destroyed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
And
but
and
and
he'd come
he,
from here, he'd boom, boom, he'd come from here, and he had such a technique, right?
yeah.
And it's like I miss
But
those guys,
it's
Aldo.
I mean, they were all such inspiration, and they were out there like trucks. I used to look at these guys, and when you ask me how I feel when I play the drums, I mean anything. I mean, I when I sit behind any of the instruments, I mean, I always think of because we are who of those people who made us before us, but also
Yeah,
we are so. I feel so lucky. I sit down and you play and you're so lucky doing this. This is just unbelievable. What an opportunity. What a gift to be able to do it, to be crazy enough to do it, but also understand and then play, and then you're playing with other people, and then you have like these giants. I mean, like yourself even, and all of these guys, when they play, it's like 1,000% that's going out through them. The music they create with whatever they happen to be striking, because it's
Yeah,
them that's making the music. The instrument is
yeah,
just happens to be there, and it's
that's
amazing.
right.
So when you're doing something, I know you're talking to the people. You're playing your timbales, but you're really pushing it. You're pulling and you're pulling it out there from
Yeah,
you're that vehicle from what you're understanding, what your capacity has done. You're able to do with it. That's huge. That is
absolutely,
huge.
absolutely. You now become their voice,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
And
That's
and
that's what
and
it is.
yeah, and kind of a conduit. And people, and if you pay attention, and I know, you have, and you know who has. I mean, if you listen to Giovanni, he was with, he studied with Changuito. He had, all these other influences, and you could hear them all the time because he really paid attention, and then he owned it to the point
Well,
where,
Gio was always, he lived here for a short time. He lived in
okay,
the Bay Area. His his uncle Tito Garcia was a great singer,
okay,
you know, and a lot of great musicians came out of there. So when Gio came to move here, you know, uh, we got to meet as young kids, and he was always on another level, right? He was already plugged into the spirit, full full charge, you know. And but sometimes we go through life not knowing why we do what we do and why we could do it so well, because the spirit doesn't teach us that. It just gives us the gift to resonate, right? uh and then you get people later on in your life who explain to you what you've been doing your whole life, like Changuito for Gio. Oh no, well, you're doing this. I was like, well, I don't know, I just do it. I don't know how to do. I just do it, you know. And it's okay. It's okay. But once you harness that, then you walk into a door. You open that door that has another 40 doors at your disposal, and have fun,
mm, mm,
because the each one of those doors have a different journey. Information that is beyond Harvard, is beyond Penn State, uh, whatever. You're not going to learn it. You're not going to learn it there, bro. You got to go through those doors. It's a secret language.
yeah, and you have to put in the work. You have to be listening, paying attention, and carry it forward. I mean, at
Yeah,
whatever age, right? At whatever age. I mean, I'm always blown away at these guys who are well into the late 70s, 80s, but still they're still playing. They still want to play, and it's not about the money. It's about their life mission, who they are, and you're not yourself until you keep pushing this envelope, because at the same time you're inspiring others behind you to follow this path and not stop until somebody stops you, right, or something
yeah.
stops you.
Yeah, it's in your DNA.
Right.
Like,
Amazing.
so you mentioned the word earlier. We are all conduits of divine, so that the information, because nothing exists The information comes through us, we process it, we think about it, and we bring it to the physical, right? And then once you learn, you know, right, left, right, right, left, left, right, left, right, right. That's a lifetime of information, Aldo. Just that one thing. And there's many things. And it wasn't until guys like Giovanni or Changuito, but it was one guy, except betrayal blazed through everybody. And it just left everyone speechless and sometimes thoughtless. That's Buddy Rich.
Oof. Yes.
Buddy Rich just assaulted your senses. Like, is this guy from here? Is he from this planet? Or so there's guys like that that come every 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
And they have the ability, and sometimes they don't know why, and it's okay. So Giovanni comes, Changuito comes, he's here. You ask yourself, are these guys from this planet? And then they spawn inspirers. They spawn the Paoli Mejia, Anthony Carrillo, right? Richie Flores.
Yes.
Guys that play beyond the instrument, beyond the design of the instrument, whatever it could have been. They play beyond it. Then you got guys like Weedy, you know, who take the djembe or a quinto, and it's the same thing. It's two languages merged into one. Mike Spiro took that with Bataketu, where he mixed the two languages, the two worlds, and brought them together. The most incredible album, CD I've ever heard in my life. No wonder why it took 10 years to do.
Yeah.
But this kind of information, Aldo, only comes every so often.
Yeah. Yeah.
You better listen.
No, and people getting back to the Buddy Rich thing. I remember before moving to Montreal, I got to know Buddy Rich, and then I would see him, and I would see him backstage, and then every time he would come around, Pat LaBarbera, who was his sax player, would invite me to concerts all the time. So I would see Buddy Rich from backstage for years. And it was just, I would just be like this the whole time and wondering how I was trying to understand it. And I was always this close. I mean, not that I could ever play like that, but just seeing, like you say, pushing that envelope, going beyond the physical capacity of the actual instrument was phenomenal because it was almost inhuman what he was doing, but so musical at the same time. Just pushing
Well,
the
yeah,
envelope.
you didn't know whether he was playing a double or a single. It
That's
sounded
right.
the same.
Yeah, yeah. When he did that roll on the snare drum, he'd
Yeah.
always do that, and I'd be watching, and you say, how does he get it so low and so like velvet and so smooth? And then he would just go crazy with it, and then playing the band, and just always kicking and always interesting, always such energy. I mean, but brilliant, and be playing the notes like a hockey player with a puck. He's and I
You would, eh? Talk
oh
hockey.
yeah, well,
Canadian. I have no
okay.
idea what hockey. Oh no, we have the Sharks.
But but I mean, you know what I mean, right? And I'm saying, and I had this
Yeah.
discussion a long time ago with Steve Smith, who did a tribute to
Oh,
Buddy
there's
Rich.
another one.
Yeah, and he did an album, a tribute to Buddy, and I called him and I said, Steve, you're the only guy I heard because I spent a lot of time watching Buddy Rich. So I mean, not that I could play close to that, but I got it, and I said, you're the only guy who learned his approach. Like you're in the music and between all those lines, and you're playing all those notes like a hockey player, like the puck, each in a way. And he was laughing. He says, I didn't quite think of it that way, but I see what you mean. I said, and you did it. You know, that's
Well,
music.
I'm glad you brought that up, Aldo. That it's no secret that sports guys want to be musicians and musicians want to be sports guys. But there's one thing that connects us, and everything happens in milliseconds to where you can see an opening, right? If you're keen enough, everything will slow down.
Hmm.
And then that little hole becomes like 10 by 10. The
And what?
baseball, if you're the batter and you slow it down, you'll be able to see the revolutions and say, oh, this is a hanging curveball. I'm going to sit back on it. Okay. So, um, and these are already said in interviews. And great Wayne Gretzky, he said, everything just slowed down for me. And so we start to become what we're doing to where we can now stand on the outside and look in. It's almost like an outer body experience, but I
Okay.
could tell you just from having it, you know. And yes, watching um, Buddy Rich, watching Dennis Chambers
Yes. Yes.
go from drum to drum seamlessly, but there's milliseconds in there that no one ever really talks about, or and you have to already hear that before you play it. In other words, you have to know what it sounds like before you hit the drum, right? You already have to know what the home run feels like before you swing the bat. You have to know what it feels to bring the hockey stick and hit the puck before you do it. You already know because you know you're going to hit the top right corner because you can see how the goalie's leaning. All this is happening subconsciously, quickly, just like that. But you can see it, but you can't explain it at the end of the day.
Right. Right. It's the
It's
same
like,
thing.
Steve, how did you do that? Dennis, how did you do that? Dennis would be the first one. I don't know.
Yes.
I just do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, his genius, he can't explain his genius, so don't even try.
Well,
So,
no one can.
no.
No one can.
But it's interesting. I mean, guys like Steve Gadd, too, in the recording world, to come up with ideas. You know, your analogy of seeing that this small space in a magnified and slowed down, I think that's a really good one because I think we all have that kind of experience at various times. And when there are successful moments, that's exactly what happens because you see it and you deal with it and you catch it right there. You know, it's like 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover when Gad did that with Paul Simon. I mean, that changed everything. You know, examples like that. Coming up with, you know, parts. I mean, even Ringo Starr with Get Back, you know, you say, what? How in the world
Yeah.
would you? And I had this conversation with Greg Bizanet about that. You know, I'd like to know what went on in the mind just before he played that, because that was not what anybody of any experience would play. but he did, and that came up with, knowing, hearing the music, hearing the melody, and saying something tells you because you see it. This is what I have to play because I hear it. Explain it. I'm
I
not sure.
got a story for you. My dear brother, one of the masters, man, Terry Bozzio. And I said, Terry, the black page. Oh my God.
Sorry,
Oh my
sorry.
God. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. And in his sweet voice, he said, I wish I could have done that over and do what I know today. But where he was today.
Yeah.
But just to hear that come out of his, I couldn't believe I was hearing that. I was like, what? Wait, what? Because yeah, I wish I could do that over with what I know today. But that was today. It was so far ahead.
Yeah. Yeah.
just just those are the supreme masters, man, that hear things that are not heard, play things that are not seen. Michael Jordan said, well, man, in my best game, the rim looked like a hot tub
Okay.
and I couldn't miss.
Right. But he practiced that
That's
so often so that he knew exactly how to control that. And that takes a great deal of.
that's a good one. How to control that. That's very well said. Yeah. Because for me, I just say they grabbed the spirit by the tail and went for the ride. But I never thought about steering the spirit, control it.
Yeah. Well, it's like when Wayne Gretzky said, I just play forward. I play the puck forward. And it's, to me, that's exactly what that means. You control it because you've done it so much in every different angle, in 1,000 different ways, 10,000 different ways. And you
Yeah,
spend
but
so
Wayne
much
Gretzky
time.
became the puck.
Yes. And he,
He
slow,
was the
he's,
puck.
yeah. Yeah.
He was the stick. He was the puck. He was all of it. He became that. You know, Gene Cupo was all of that. Buddy was all of that. Dennis is all of that. Negro,
Yeah.
Horacio Hernandez
Oh,
is all of that. If you listen to what comes out of Horacio's playing, and he looks like he's doing nothing,
yes, yes, yes. He's barely
he's just
moving.
sitting there, he's barely moving. Uh, you're there and you hear this train coming towards you. Roberto Vizcaino, the father and the son.
Yes.
Roberto Jr. is on another planet.
Yes.
But everybody's invited.
Yeah. Well,
He
here's
buys
a
the tickets.
yeah. No, here's a funny story. I mean, I know Horacio very well for many many years, and now he's living in Havana. And every once in a while I'll stop into his house. And I remember the first time I went, he had just finished his place, and I walk in and there's Roberto, his teacher. I mean, there are a bunch of us there, and so I walk in and we're all sitting on the couch. And he's got these practice pads. He's watching television, and they're all sitting. And you sit there, sticks and pads, and that's how you
That's
hang.
right.
I said,
That
this is brilliant.
that was our hang too. And when he
Yeah.
played with Santana,
Okay.
he would always, we call each other nicknames. It's the same nickname. For him, I'm Lino. For him, he's Lino.
Okay.
Linen, which means linen. So he would always say, Lino, bring the sticks in the pad. and always just and talking,
Yeah.
having a conversation, separating ourselves, right? Talking,
Yes.
laughing. It's a great thing, man.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, no, it's amazing
Proud.
because in the room are like all these great players, and I got to know a lot of the guys in Cuba very well. So I'd walk in and say, "Oh, look, come on, sit down, right here." So, and just amazing, and
What a
that's
great life, huh, Aldo?
no kidding, man.
The
Wow.
people that we've think about the people that we've been surrounded with and associated with, and we had heroes and we had inspirations, and and I can tell you that I ended up playing with my heroes and
Yes.
inspirations, and also I broke bread with them. And I invite everyone not just to have your bandmates as bandmates, break bread with them, have special moments with them. Go eat a dinner. Don't talk about music. If you talk about music, make it funny, but laugh and cry together.
Yeah.
It's the best experience. You know, when you get, you know, I know you know, when it's Giovanni, myself, Raul, Dennis, Mangini, it's it's going to be laughing and cracking jokes, making each other laugh.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're like, man, this is crazy. But you're sitting at the table with the super friends,
Yeah.
with a bunch of superheroes.
Yeah, and it's I mean it's a double-sided thing. You have to do all the hard work to be there, but you also have to enjoy it and share it. And
Yeah, you're
this
right.
and it's so important. I mean, how fortunate you are to do it. But like the joking, I said, never, never lose your sense of humor because this is so much fun. And
Oh
there's
yeah,
there's funny stuff, a lot
yeah,
of funny stuff.
yeah.
And if you take
Oh, there
yourself
is.
too seriously, you miss it. You take what you
Even
do
even within
seriously.
the music, right? There's funny
Yeah.
stuff.
I was just thinking now, what could be something really funny that would happen to you? I mean, you've been 33 years with Santana. Okay, everybody, Santana has been like one of those beacons for all of us for practically
Yeah.
all our lives. It's like you were born with this. So, what is a funny thing that happened on the way to the forum?
Well, I'm the guy that would do the funny stuff.
Okay.
You know, you know, Dennis would be really into the thing, and while he wasn't looking, I would take my shirt and I would tie it in a knot right here. You know, I'd be like this and have my belly exposed, and and when he would look over, the sticks would go flying. He'd laughing, choking, you know, and experiences like that beyond the music, right? Is is what Dennis and I have. Dennis and I have, um, and it's special to me. It's very, very special.
And it's that sense of humor too. It was funny. It just reminded me of something. Last year, we have a house in Calabria in southern Italy, and Dennis knew I was there. So he at one point we were texting each other, and he says, "Yeah, I'm in southern Italy. We're doing some dates with Mike Stern. If you're around, here's where we are." So I texted back. I said, "Wow, you're playing like half an hour from my place." So he invited me to the concert, and I went. I'm there, and here he is. He is like such. He's just playing, and
Yeah, yeah,
and at one point I'm seeing him. You know how he does this? Like one hand is doing one thing, like he completely separates himself into four, and then
yes.
his head is just looking around to see, and you can see the other musicians all of a sudden, like you could tell, like, I'm saying to myself, Dennis, no, 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 you're doing what? And he's like kind of falling apart, but he's right there. And you can see the other musicians all of a sudden, like, all of a sudden the ears go up and they're looking at him.
Yes.
And he's got this
Oh,
smirk.
exactly. That's Dennis. That's Dennis all the way. That's Dennis all the way. He would do that live and then look at me in the corner of his eye like, are you getting this? Are you getting this? Like, we would just die laughing. We've done that. We've done that on recordings.
Wow. And if you're
Hilarious, man. Hilarious.
yeah, yeah.
Hilarious. And he, don't, he's a jokester. Be careful.
Yeah, yeah. No, I was seeing
He's a
this and I'm
jokester,
saying,
man.
I was saying to myself, oh, no, no. What's he doing? And I could see the smile and his like right hand is going over there. Left hand is like here. His right foot is like a mile away. Like I'm saying, oh my
Yeah.
God. And I'm seeing, okay,
Oh, yeah.
how long before anybody breaks? And then he'll eventually bring it back. And you see everybody looking at him saying, Dennis, I said, that was funny. He said, did you like that? I was having fun.
Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Exactly. That's exactly what he's doing. He'll pick
Yeah.
apart a bass player in minutes, you
Wow.
know. You
But
can play.
that's,
And he's looking. Can you hold on? Are you holding on? It's like, you know, ding, 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 ding. It's like it's crazy stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Oh my
Beautiful.
God! Oh,
Beautiful.
what we
And the
had
thing,
special times, man.
yeah, and that's, I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, people like that, I mean, like yourself, I mean, the stuff that you've been doing, all of these and still doing. I mean, I mean, you have your own records, you sing also, you have your own projects, and you're teaching and I mean, you're playing. I mean, we're still in midstream here, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's the way I look at it. I'm a student for life.
And what other, not advice, but what other thoughts would you, given the opportunity, people are listening and saying, okay, what kind of advice, what things should I be thinking moving forward in the world we live in today? I mean, we grew up one way in an environment that had that. This is different, not better, worse, different. So, a musician moving forward, what would you throw at them?
That's a really good question. Um, just study your art, become your art, live your life through your art, and invite all your surroundings to become a part of your inspiration so your art will flower. Now, most people are just trying to get a gig, man. I want to get a gig. I want to get a gig. I just need that gig. No, you don't need that gig. You need to learn. Now, music is a wonderful thing because you might not be playing at the Forum or Caesars in the main room, but your calling might be to be one of the most incredible teachers and inspiring other people to play at the Forum, right? And there's going to be different facets. You might not be at the Forum, but you'll be that recording guy that nobody knows.
Yeah.
Or you might be the guy that gets the play that nobody talks about. But at the end of the career, you're going to have the house in southern Italy.
Yes. Right. Well, that's
because
that.
your life was assigned and designed, and you helped shape it. So just because you didn't get to play Molson doesn't mean you're not going to be successful.
Yep. Very well said. And there's room for everybody. Right?
Absolutely.
Well, Carl, I mean, we could talk for days, and I'm really thankful that you spent all this time with us, and thank you so much for sharing such, not just the stories, but like some real thoughtfulness, and I mean that, some interesting ways to think about things, and I think it's important to reflect and hear other people's thoughts who have been there, seen it, done it, and can talk about it. And you did that, and I really appreciate that. Thank you for doing this. And as I always say, Carl, to be continued.
To be continued. Thank you for all the teachings and everything that you do and the supporting music. You're an angel in disguise. To be continued.
Thank you.